Hi, today is Wednesday the 8th, I want to say. Warm day today, 34 degrees. It's probably not a lot done this week. I apologise for lack of project video last week. I was working on the king single trundle bed for my mum, but that's halted. Why? Because mum won't make a decision on whether she wants a chamfer or a roundover. Been waiting a week now for that decision. It doesn't fuss me either way, but I need to know before I put in the panels and all of that. So I'm not going to order the sheet goods, then have that sitting around for a week doing nothing. So I probably wouldn't have had that video done anyway, but that certainly didn't help. This week I've just literally shelved that. I've put the parts onto the shelf and moved on to another project. I've been making dowels, so this was, I think, attempt number 2 or something. Pretty close to what I wanted, and then finally got exactly what I wanted. This is 19mm dowel, and it's within plus or minus about 0.04mm, so fairly accurate. The 19mm dowel's nothing special because I could go to the store and buy that quite easily, but I didn't have to go to the store, which was great. However, I'll be using this to make accurately sized dowels for the leg vise and subsequently for the Moxon vise kits when I eventually get to those. I do have another actual project I'm working on rather than a shop project, so if I get that done, I'll post that instead and then dowels the next week or during the week. I didn't have much progress yesterday on the project I'm working on because of the dust collector. Getting that cleaned out though, I've probably, 10 times the amount of suction at the bandsaw. That's the tool that's furthest away. Yesterday's video was prompted by me cleaning this out and finding all the gunk and then questions on Instagram, so on and so forth. I didn't cover the ducting. I've covered that before. It's just standard 4-inch PVC, 100mm PVC. It goes along the wall and then down onto the ground. At the time when I did this, we had issues with the ceiling, the plasterboard starting to fall. We've had that fixed, and I'm very tempted to run the PVC across the ceiling, particularly when I redo the mitre station, because in theory I could run a pipe between the lights, above the garage door rails, and then down to the mitre saw, and that would be ideal. I would also have nothing more on the ground, which makes it easier to move around. I'm not 100% certain on that idea just yet. I can't have any bigger than 4-inch pipe going across the ceiling to get underneath the garage door rail, because I just don't have the clearance otherwise. Speaking of the mitre saw, piping to the mitre saw, this project, just remaking the mitre saw stand, is still a go. I've got that sponsor on board, so Craig's coming along with a few products, which is great. You'll be happy to know, Jason, that I am most likely going to be going with 16mm HMR melamine. For those that don't know, that's high moisture resistance melamine. That is what this is made up of anyway. I've been flip-flopping between the plywood and the melamine, and the plywood comes to double the cost. End of the day, that's what it gets down to. That the melamine is probably good enough for 99% of this. I like using plywood in drawers rather than melamine because it's a bit easier to machine the joinery. And using 12mm plywood makes a slightly larger box internally. So I'll probably still get some plywood, but for certain parts. So melamine for the cabinets, probably melamine for the tops. Now I'm going to have this coming out from the wall a bit further, so it's going to come out 800mm from here, so that's an extra 200mm. So there will be a bit of a hang, but that's no big deal. There'll be cabinets on top. At first I'm going to have the cabinets for my small parts trays. Over here I'll probably have small cabinets for layout and stationary type tools. Probably going to add some very specialised drawers. So probably 2 half-height drawers in this position here. One for the laptop, because I don't really want that out all the time, and the one below that for plans, so that I can have a bit of an archive of all the projects that I've got, and that'll give me enough room for A3 paper as well, which is good. Over on the mitre saw section of the mitre saw cabinets, this will probably still be melamine for the frame and then some extra supports out of plywood. Melamine is pretty good, but this sort of span, which I think is 800 millimeters, with this weight on the top, isn't great for it. So probably beef that up either with hardwood or plywood, then put the top on, well, top of it. These, you can't see that. This cabinet will go, and I'll lower this down so it's closer to the handle here, and probably more specific storage. So whether that's to store the L box I've got up the top, the sustainer, whether I put in cubbies, I'm not 100% certain just yet. I've got some long tools like a straight edge, a level. I don't really care about the level, but the straight edge and the guide rails for the track saw. And I'd like to come up with some sort of storage solution for them. The best I think I've come up with so far is some sort of vertical, I want to call it a drawer, but it wouldn't really be a drawer. It'd be a very shallow drawer that you pull out that way and they could be dangling down. I don't know if that's a good solution. I don't know if I want to lay them down. Certainly don't want to lay them down above head height because then I can't see them and they run more risk of being damaged if I'm trying to pull them down and I can't see it. So let me know if you've got any ideas for that type of storage. It's a bit odd. A tool wall would be ideal, but I don't have anywhere to put it, and I'm still up and down about building that wall to put a tool wall on around the dust collector. And I'll most likely level it just with wedges using the plinth style, the separate plinth style construction. I like the idea of feet. I like the idea of scribing, but I think end of the day, this is a workshop. So if it's not the absolute prettiest, it probably doesn't matter. So I think in terms of ease, cost, time, the wedges are probably the best way to level the plinths and put the cabinets on top of that. Then if it really bothers me down the track, which I highly doubt it will, I can always make a fascia plinth kickboard type thing and scribe that to the floor, but that's unlikely. My biggest concern with melamine now is probably not the structural integrity of it, but the edge banding. I hate edge banding and I am terrible at it. I've become better at it than when I did these. I've learned a lot, but it's still a sucky process. One option I could go with, probably more so for the top than for the cabinets, is edge banding it with some solid wood. It wouldn't necessarily look great, but it's really only the top that's going to take a beating. So if I edge banded that with some pine or some hardwood or whatever, it would be relatively quick because I can nail it on, and it would add a bit more longevity to the melamine top, which is going to cop abuse from big pieces of timber coming down on it to use at the mitre saw, you know, the whole point of the station. When it comes to the fence, I'm going to be using the Craig Precision Track system. I looked at a few different options and that one really stood out to me, and that's why I contacted Craig as being probably the best system for mitre saws for this sort of application. Yes, you can make your own, but the Craig one just seems, for lack of a better word, simple, stupid, easy to do. So I'm not entirely certain whether I'll go with melamine for that, because it requires a a rabbit, and it requires thicker material. I'll be getting 16mm HMR melamine, not 18mm. I've had problems getting supply of that in the past, and the Precision Track system's designed for 18-19mm stock. So I might get some plywood for that. I might get some MDF maybe. I'd be concerned about the durability of that, but it'd have aluminium rail on the top, so it's probably going to be fine if it's MDF. But I'll sort that out another time. So as a quick spoiler, here is the dowel making jig big hole on this side, smaller hole on that side, so 19mm there, 28ish millimetre here. Square stock goes in, router gets turned on, drill with giant socket, turns it counterclockwise, and the result is actually a pretty good dowel that comes out the other end. There's a few tricks to it. It's very similar to the pencil shaver method that the TS1 dowel uses, just it's slightly more powered. This is probably better for when you're getting to larger and larger dowels, so like the 38mm, but anything smaller is probably better on the pencil shaver method. I'll find out with some more experimentation, but it works, so that's lovely, and that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks for watching.